Hey guys, so we're going to talk about some things I've been seeing on Twitter and hearing in some podcasts, and it got me thinking a little bit about my own opinion on it, and I just wanted to rant about it. So I want to hear from you guys as well in the description. Let me know what you think. But do you think Munkidori is a problem? I started thinking about this when I was listening to, I believe, the Shift Gear podcast, where Piper Lupine was a guest, and she had just come in eighth, I think, at NAIC with Grimsnarl, and she was mentioning how I believe she said that Munkidori was a mistake, and she was surprised that the developers at TPCI printed it. And that really got me thinking because I've actually always been a Munkidori supporter since it, was printed. I always thought, oh, this is interesting, although I wasn't big brain enough to really understand the full implication of what this card could do until people actually started playing it. And it's funny because I think my opinion on it is slightly different than most people's because I think I enjoy different aspects of the game. I really am not a huge fan of the whole let me just make a huge big Pokemon and just hit really hard and just one shot everything like Raging Bolt and Golden Go as well. I think even though Golden Go is fun to play, don't get me wrong, I just feel like those decks are a little bit linear. You don't really vary your matchup play too much depending on who you're playing against. It's still pretty much a very linear deck, and it's not as like there's less reward on like forethought, I guess. Like, I don't want to say that you don't have to think ahead, because you do. And no matter what deck you're playing, you do have to think ahead. I do just find that there's something very satisfying about planning ahead with your damage counters, trying to min-max to get like a multiple prize turn. I've always felt that that was extremely satisfying to me, putting pressure on your opponent to do things because they are on a ticking time bomb. I've always found that that sort of gameplay is the most fun. That's why I was very excited when the Journey Together format came out, because I was excited for Zacian. I didn't think it would be very good, but I was kind of secretly hoping that it would be, because I just liked having the spread and then being able to pressure your opponent that way. And Munkidori actually kind of fits that, because in kind of like a vacuum, if you have that, you can throw back the damage that's being dealt to you, and you can plan out the counters. Oh, you have your Dragapult, you can plan those counters out, or you could snipe the bench, set up a snipe, and force your opponent to evolve their Hoot, force your opponent to Turo or lose 2 prize cards, stuff like that. I just always thought was very compelling and like very high level gameplay of required in Pokemon, because I always felt that unless you're like a very, very top tier player playing at that top tier, you can kind of get away at like your local level of just like not a lot of forethought, and just kind of be like, hey, I'm just gonna play this pretty linear and kind of get away with it. I'm not saying you're gonna win every cup, but I feel like you could still top cut playing like that. And it's kind of tricky, because it's like, I know that this game is limited by the fact that it wants to be accessible to everybody, and just the way the design of the game is it just can't be too complicated. But when you go back and you look at the older metas of this game, when damage counters felt like they mattered, I feel like those are some of the best formats people enjoyed. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of like connoisseur on retro, but I have gone back and watched like 2008, and I think 2010 was also a very favored one. And I don't know, I like watching some of these decks that build up damage counters over time, and then they take a bunch of prizes at once, or then by the end of the game you just kind of put your opponent in a checkmate position. And those are always the formats I found very fun. So I think that's why I'm really vibing with Grimmsnarl, and why I think Munkidori, even though I know it's the most powerful card in the game, I don't hate it, because I feel like it's predictable about what it's going to do, but it also requires like a higher skill level to execute it correctly. So, there's a lot of times where, you're just short on damage, right? You have to get the Munkidori up, and then you get the energy attached, and then you can turn a 240 move into a 270, or, a 210 into a 240, so you can hit your Raging Bolt or whatever it is. And I find that, at least with the Munkidori, it's not just an active ability. You do have to commit more deck slots to it, right? You have to commit more dark energies into your deck to make it work, because it needs to have a dark energy. You also have to commit items to get the dark energy, and then you have to actually attach the dark energy through what's most likely going to be a manual attach, because I don't think there's any dark acceleration in the format anymore now that dark patch is gone, or at least dark acceleration that works with a psychic Pokemon. So I do like that it kind of requires a lot of forethought. I struggle because I don't like that every deck is running it, because when every deck runs it, a lot of the time the format becomes, how many monkeys do you have up? So like I've been playing a lot of Grimmsnarl, and my matchup into Guardy, like a lot of the time is just like I need to get my monkey set up before they do, because I need to win the monkey war. And a lot of the time it's like if they get their monkey set up and then they got their Guardy, I'm just like, I think it's Jover, you know? So that's like the one problem that I have right now with that card, is that I just feel like it's so close to being a really cool card, and it's so close to being like pretty healthy. I think just the fact that like so many deck lists are now being built against it, and there isn't a ton of counterplay to it because you're moving damage counters, you're not moving damage, so Shaman's not stopping it. I think there's a Jirachi or something, but I think it's only placing damage counters, not moving it. I do suspect that we will get something that will print the manipulation of moving specifically, just to keep that card in check. I don't know when it's gonna come. And, you know, TPCI is very slow to balance these kind of things. I also don't know if they need to. I feel like they're kind of trying to wait it out to see, hey, like, is this just an overreaction, or like, is this card actually a problem? And I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you think it's an actual problem or whatever. One thing I will say is there's been a lot of times since I started playing TCG, and it's been happening since day one, that a new card will come out and people tend to overreact and say, oh, this is going to break the meta. I mean, when Briar came out, people were quitting. People were like, oh my god, I can't play this game. This is ruining everything. It's punishing me for playing the game correctly. And I'm like, Briar is so annoying to find on the exact turn that you need it, and then implement it, and then also capitalize on it, right? Because a lot of the time you need to take it when your opponent has exactly 2 cards, right? So you have to find the Briar on the turn that you need it. But then you also have to make sure you have your win con on the board, right? You need to also make sure that you can either gust something up for the 2 prizes to take 3 prizes, or you need to be able to lock something into the active. It's not just a card that, like, 9 times out of 10, just playing the Briar alone is not going to win you the game. But I remember everybody losing their minds over it. Now, Duskull, while I do think was extremely, extremely powerful when it came out, it's very funny that they didn't even print anything. Like, we didn't even get the Psyduck yet in America, and people already stopped running it months ago. You know? Like, they printed this promo, Psyduck, in Japan to stop Duskull. Didn't even come over here, and Duskull killed itself. And I'm not saying Duskull's bad, but it's like, only Charizard's running it right now, I think? So it's like, how much of a problem really was that card if it's not, like, nothing was being printed to stop it, and yet it's already kind of either gotten outscaled or people have found enough ways to play around it. So it's hard. Munkidori's been out just as long, and Monkey was kind of delayed. Like, it was played a little bit, but now like everybody's playing it, so it's kind of a slightly different situation. But I still feel like even then Duskull wasn't that bad. I felt it was actually kind of balanced. You had to be smart about how you used it. You can't just use it to take a free prize card. Like, a lot of the times you were trading prize cards, or you were trying to set yourself up for a future turn to get a, you know, big knockout or whatever it is. Maybe to activate Countercatcher, to activate Briar. So I don't think it was quite as... Honestly, I was not a Duskull hater. The only card that I initially hated when it first came out, but actually came to love, is actually Budu. When Budu first came out, I think I was already tilted about some other things happening in the meta and with the hobby in general, that it was kind of like a little bit of a Budu hater. But after playing more and more games with it, it's annoying, but it is such an easy kill. So all those turns that you delay, you kind of make that time back with a Budu kill. Right, so like Dragapult can just put 3 damage counters, take a prize, and then also still put 3 damage counters somewhere else. And as you know, there's so many cards that are only 3 damage counters or 6 damage counters away from dying to a Dragapult, right? So let's just say you have a 260 HP Pokemon, you put the 3 on the Budu, you kill it. You put the 3 on the, 260, so now it's 230. The next turn you boss it up and then you Munkidori. You know, like there's a lot of math involved, and Budu, even though it may stop you from playing the game and it might be really annoying early on, it's just so easy to kill and it takes up a bench spot. I've actually come around to like Budu. And maybe that's been my issue with Monkey too, although I've kind of always liked it. I always thought it was very unique. So that's just my opinion on Munkidori. I think, we're in a spot where I think you need to sit and wait and see how it develops going into the Mega Evolution format, because we have to remember the last thing too with the Mega Evolution format is now you have 3 prizers on the field. So I do wonder, will Monkey still carry its weight, or will it become another bench liability? Will it even be able to help you hit those numbers that you need to hit? I mean, most of the time, I'm just thinking for most Mega Evolutions, the ones that have the higher HP pools, the only thing that's gonna team up with a Munkidori for a one-hit knockout is probably another Mega Evolution. There aren't a lot of cards that can be 30 damage away from a knockout on a Mega Evolution Pokemon. You know, I think some of the outliers like Absol and Latias that have the lower HP pools, I mean, those are in danger of being knocked out just by plain attacks. But I do think that it'll be interesting to see how it goes into that next meta, or if they decide to print a counter card to it. So what would you guys like to see? Would you like to see a counter card be printed for Monkey? Do you think Monkey is totally fine? I'm very curious to hear what you think. Please leave a comment down below, and a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, say hi to my cat. Say hi, Maxie. Now you have to like the video because Maxie visited, and he never does, right, Maxie? Yes, okay. All right, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.